What's so special about a journalist? What sets a journalist apart from any other job in the country? Most people don't realize how hard it is to be a journalist. Every job in a newsroom can be at times so over the top stressful that many personalities simply can't handle it. If you've lasted even a few years in broadcast journalism, you know it takes a special person who can work under such unrelenting deadlines and tremendous pressure. One of the things I like to remind people who work in a newsroom is that they are all journalists. Often, if you ask someone who works in the TV newsroom what they do, they'll proudly say, I'm a news photographer, or I'm an assignment editor, or I'm the 6 and 10 p.m. anchor. Every job in the newsroom carries a certain stature due to its unique responsibilities. But no matter what your job is anchor, reporter, photographer, editor, associate producer, digital producer, assignment editor, meteorologist, sports reporter, news manager, chopper pilot, or storm chaser, we are all journalists. Being a journalist is special. It is a job that comes with high ideals and great responsibility. A reminder that the job of a journalist is embodied in our U.S. Constitution as one of the five freedoms: the right to petition the government, the right to assemble, the freedom of the press, the freedom of religion, and the freedom of speech. As a journalist, you should have these five freedoms memorized since you belong to one of them. An easy way to remember them is the word papers as an acronym: PAPERS. But take the E out and you have the five freedoms. Again, the right to petition the government, the right to assemble, the freedom of the press, the freedom of religion, and the freedom of speech. Ours is the only job specifically mentioned and specifically protected by the U.S. Constitution. Feeling special yet? The Founding Fathers designed the check and balance system, the three branches of government, as a way to contain and control power. The Founding Fathers said the press should be outside of government as an additional check and balance on governmental power. The Founding Fathers also said the press should be outside of government funding, so our content would not be swayed by a threat of funds being taken away for negative coverage or by the coercion of extra funding to sway our content in a positive direction. The Founding Fathers knew the press should be part of the marketplace responsible to the consumers. Say what you will about the quality of commercial journalism, but the marketplace system designed by the Founding Fathers, I believe, has served our democracy well. As public TV and public radio have learned, it is not wise to be dependent on government funding. With a change in political climate, funding can be wiped away with a stroke of a pen. As difficult as it has been for public TV and public radio, they will be better off with support from their local communities. Some people proclaim that journalists have a lot of power in this country, but I think power is the wrong word. Power sounds too self serving to me. It also sounds like something that can be abused. Power is something that has to be amassed and cured over time. Power can go to a person's head. Power is exactly what the founding fathers were trying to control with the check and balance system. But the press is outside of government and not bound by the articles of the U.S. Constitution. So, what holds the press in check? Quite simply, there are no rules in journalism. There is only ethics. Ethics, I believe, come from good morals, common decency, and common sense. Our ethics dictate how we do our job, how we run our TV station, and the quality of the content we put on our various media platforms. We are in the marketplace the way the founding fathers designed us to be responsible and responsive to the public. If we aren't good at what we do, if we don't exercise ethical constraint, the public will not consume our product. The advertisers will not buy ads on our platforms. We will not make money. We will run out of business. As history has proven, good journalism is good business. First, let me say again, power is the wrong word. The U.S. Constitution does not give journalists power. The U.S. Constitution gives the journalist authority. Big difference. Think about that for a minute. You might think of a nationally known journalist, a news anchor, one that is feared or revered by politicians. Certainly the word power comes to mind. But the journalist on day one of his or her career comparatively has little power compared to that well known news anchor. But that day one journalist has the exact same authority as that nationally known and feared journalist. The U.S. Constitution says a journalist on day one has the freedom to reveal information, hold the powerful accountable, and be a voice for the voiceless. That day one journalist has the authority to ask the tough questions of anyone in power: a company CEO, the local mayor, a U.S. senator, even the President of the United States. This is why you must live a life above reproach. If you're going to hold others accountable for their actions, then you must hold yourself accountable for your own actions. You can't be a dirtbag and be a journalist. You must be a person of the highest moral character. It's been said that journalists suffer from a glass jaw. It's an old boxing term to describe a fighter who can be knocked out in one punch. If a journalist is involved in a scandal or anything that destroys their credibility, then their career's over. Be warned, if you are a successful journalist, there will be those looking to find your glass jaw. Living a life above reproach is not for everybody. Journalism is such a unique business. Why? Somewhere in the evolution of journalism, journalistic independence loosened the reins on newsrooms so journalists could do their job without fear or favor. Now, each newsroom has to operate balancing the needs of producing ethical, responsible, aggressive journalism with the needs of the commercial business they are supported by. They must balance that tightrope in the marketplace or fade away. That's why developing a collective ethic for the entire TV station is so important. The ideals of journalism must be internally marketed to the entire building, especially to the marketing and sales departments. Every TV station is known by their content they produce and how well they produce it. Each TV station is known by their good morals, their common decency, and their common sense. If viewers do not see this, they will not attach value to what you do, and your TV station will not survive in the commercial marketplace. This is why your journalistic values must be shared with the public by process and promotion. They must see the processes, the methods and practices of how you do your work. And the station's marketing effort should be sharing those journalistic values. The internal has to match the external. If what you share with the public in your marketing doesn't match what's internal, then your marketing is a gimmick. What I'm describing is one of the oldest concepts in successful businesses. It's called internal-external marketing. Apple's internal value was innovation, and that's how they always have marketed their products. Walmart's internal value was always having the lowest prices, and that's how they market themselves. TV stations can do the same thing. They must first develop their journalistic values and then share them with the public. For more on the internal-external marketing of journalism, read my book, The Gospel of Journalism. The subtitle is Know It, Live It, Preach It. Everything journalists do comes from the journalists who came before us, those who taught us, those who took the time to mentor us. Let me share some inspiration with you. First, from one of my mentors, former Poynter Instituter, Valerie Hyman, who reminds us, always remember the journalist's primary responsibility is to the public. When you become a journalist, you answer a noble call. Nobody else does what journalists do in our society. No other professionals are responsible for revealing information, for holding the powerful accountable, for giving voice to the voiceless. Only journalists carry that burden. With it comes certain obligations and potentially the ability to make the world a better place. Valerie also taught me what journalists do that I mentioned previously. We are the watchdogs of our democracy. We reveal information. We hold the powerful accountable. We give voice to the voiceless. And from Edward R. Murrow in a 1958 speech talking about this new medium of TV news. This instrument can teach, it can illuminate, yes, it can even inspire, but can only do so to the extent that humans are determined to use it to those ends. Otherwise, it is merely wires and lights in a box. There is a great and perhaps decisive battle to be fought against ignorance, intolerance, and indifference. From Murrow producer Fred Friendly, the purpose of journalism is to give information on which the citizen can act, or as I like to add, or not act. Viewers can take our information that we provide to them and write their congressman, call the mayor, go protest, sign a petition, or vote, or they could do none of those things. It is the right of each citizen to take information they learn on the news and use it to make decisions for themselves and their families. This is why it's so important for viewers to hear all the viewpoints, not just the ones they agree with. Viewers who watch liberal or conservative programming go there for affirmation, not information. Also from Fred Friendly, our job is not to make up anybody's mind, but to make the agony of decision making so intense that you can escape only by thinking. From Supreme Court Justice William Douglas, the function of the press is to explore and investigate events, inform the people what is going on, and to expose the harmful as well as the good influences at work. There is no higher function performed under our constitutional regime. And lastly, from my dear friend Perry Box, who I worked with at my very first TV job and at two other TV stations. Journalism is a calling. I know this to be true. So does every journalist whose soul burns brightly with the sure and certain knowledge that truth matters, that free people do not fear truth, but demand it, that to speak truth to power, to probe, to investigate, demand transparency, carefully analyze what may be masquerading as fact, chronicle the events of our time in the context of what has been and may yet come, to report fairly, freely, fearlessly for the sake of justice, truth, equality, foundational American values, and the perfection and preservation of democracy is a calling, nothing less. It is a calling from which you cannot resign or retire without betraying the essence of yourself. Feeling special? I hope by now you realize what's so special about being a journalist. Journalists, more than anyone, need these reminders. Hope you realize the authority of a journalist and the role of journalists in our democracy. I hope you take some of what I share here to develop your own journalistic idealism. My particular idealism comes from the design our founding fathers had for the press, from people who shaped me as a journalist, and from people still attempting to shape journalism. You may find your idealism elsewhere. It may take you a while to develop your idealism. Search out your idealism from your work, your coworkers, your bosses in books and articles in history, or from those who taught you your standards and values. Decide what you believe, express it, write it down, hang it on a wall. In your own pursuit of journalistic idealism, I hope you understand how special it is to be a journalist. I call it the gospel of journalism. You have to know it, you have to live it, and you have to preach it to save it.